It all started when we moved out of the city. We moved way up here, way up to this remote area by the Modoc National Forest. Here, I discovered this really neat beaver colony. I was so excited by this close encounter with nature that I started to film with a video camera. That's when I made a remarkable observation. These beavers were out and about every day of the week except Saturdays. I was never able to get any pictures on Saturdays. So I decided to do a little study. The incredible results I want to share with you in this documentary I call The Seventh Day Beavers. Saturday. What's so special about it? Why would Saturday be different than any other weekday? Here I am in the forest watching beavers and wondering why they work 6 days a week and then rest on this one particular day. Welcome to the Seventh Day Beavers, the story of animals that rest. So here's the question. What's so special about Saturdays that would cause something in nature to recognize it?
Saturday is the seventh day of the week. You can discover that by looking at any good dictionary or encyclopedia. It is also the original day that God rested on when He created this world. It says in the beginning of the Bible in Genesis chapter 2, verse 3, that God blessed the seventh day, and He sanctified it because in it He had rested from all His work, which God created and made. If anything in nature still recognizes the significance of the Sabbath, it would be a remnant or a carryover from the early days at the beginning of time.
In the Bible, after God finished creating the world in 6 literal days, He created one more thing. He created a day. Genesis 2 tells us, on the seventh day, God rested from His work which He had made, and God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. So right from the beginning of time, we see that the seventh day is special to the Creator of this earth. Then in Exodus, He commanded His people to remember it by not working. You also see in Isaiah 56 that God invited foreigners to join with His people, Israel, and to keep the Sabbath also.
In July of 1999, we made a big decision in our family. We decided to move out of the city and into the country. My wife and I had both graduated from college. We were both in debt. We had our first 2 children, and we were living smack dab in the middle of a city in a tract housing development. One day, after work, I decided to stop off at the local Christian bookstore and see if I can get a book to help me be a better parent. While browsing through the family section, my eye caught sight of a book called Country Living. This book nearly jumped off the shelf by itself into my arms. While perusing through the book, I felt strongly impressed that God wanted us to move out into the country. But we had this problem of money, and us being starving students just out of college, we would of course need jobs, and so that doesn't come easy. But about this time, this simple little 3-bedroom house was offered to us for free. You know, it's really not much, but it was free, and that's about all we could afford. That would give us a really good chance to pay off our debts, get on our feet a little bit. Having a house for free is nice, but of course you're going to have jobs. Way out here in the middle of nowhere, where would we find jobs? We work in hospitals. So I decided to call the local hospital. I called him up and I said to him, I wanted to work 4 days a week as a physical therapist. And the reason 4 instead of 5 is because I want to take 1 day off so my wife can work, who is a dental hygienist, and she wants to work 1 day a week. So I told this to the man on the phone. Then there was silence on the phone for a little while. Finally, he came back on and he said, did you say physical therapy for 4 days and dental hygiene for 1 day? I said, yeah. He said, that's funny. We're looking for a dental hygienist to work 1 day a week and a physical therapist to work 4 days a week. So God opened the doors up. We moved into the house and we moved out to the country and started our life here out in the country. Yeah, you know, that was pretty amazing. And that nearest hospital was about 40 miles away. And the fact that they were looking for the exact same schedule told us this must be a sign from God. A free house, tailor-made jobs. We did it. We made the big move. So here we are in the country, living amongst the beavers. And to tell the truth, I never would have even noticed them resting if it wasn't for Bill.
Back when Larren and his family still lived in Redlands, California, I lived in their garage. They ended up converting their garage into an apartment, and then I rented it from them. The property was surrounded by orange groves, which means lots of bees. Now I noticed something very interesting about these particular bees. They flew in the same pattern each day. They'd go zooming by my garage every day. But on Saturdays, it was quiet. No bees. They didn't fly by on Saturday like they did on the other days, and I had to tell Larren about that.
Yeah, what Bill told me that day was pretty interesting, but it really didn't mean much to me at the time. But I did remember it. Let me take you up to the area where my beavers actually live. When we finally moved up here, the thing that really contrasted our new home with our old home was the mountains. We fell in love with the mountains up here. And since we didn't work on Saturdays, I had time to come up here and explore the mountains. That is, on Saturdays. One Saturday afternoon, I ran across a huge beaver dam. Now this discovery fascinated me, so I came back again and again, hoping to see the beavers. On Saturdays, Saturday after Saturday, I came back, but I never saw them. And I wondered why. Maybe beavers are just real sneaky, reclusive animals. But then I got a surprise. I got a chance to go up to the beaver dam on a different day. And wow, there they were. So here it is, the home of the seventh-day beavers. This creek in the National Forest here is only about 15 miles away from our home. And over the years, these beavers have built several dams, some down the creek and others up the creek. And after coming up to this particular dam and visiting the beavers several times, I finally began to wonder, why wasn't I seeing them on Saturdays? That's when I remembered the bees. It finally hit me what Bill said about the bees in Redlands, how they didn't fly in their usual patterns on Saturdays. And I thought, bees and beavers are kind of similar. Bees live in colonies. They work together in a highly organized manner, performing specific tasks, that is, to make honey. I thought to myself, now don't beavers do the same thing? Well, they don't make honey, but they live in colonies, and they work together in a highly organized manner, performing a specific task, that is, building dams. I wonder if somehow these beavers are resting on Saturdays like Bill's bees. And so that's when I decided to do a little experimenting. So I decided to observe the activity of the beavers on a routine weekly basis over a period of time. Each weekday, I'll come up at the same time and record what I observe. And of course, I'll be using my trusty video camera to help record the data. Now, according to what I've heard, beavers are most active early in the morning, late in the evening, and late at night. Anyway, that worked well with my schedule since I had to work most weekdays. So my plan was to observe them each morning, early before work, and late each evening after work. Then on Saturdays and Sundays, I'd be able to spend a little extra time observing. This'll be fun, I thought. I'll pretend like I'm a Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom nature filmer or something. So I went to work, each day making my observations and making notes to keep track of the data. This is week 1, and it's Monday, and there they are, doing their thing. They're very active, swimming, carrying branches around and eating. They seem to be most active here in the evening, more so than in the morning. So I'll make a note of this in my beaver log and mark it down. So I went to work, starting on a Monday. I continued observing the next day. So it's Tuesday and they're very active today. But sure enough, there they were, still at it. Swimming, splashing, eating, all the normal beaver activity. And the next day, Wednesday, there they were, still busy. I also got a chance to see quite a variety of other wildlife too. I think there's a great big sandhill crane out here. There he is. 2 big sandhill cranes right over there. I even saw a baby black bear right here in the same spot. Thursday, just like the previous day, the beavers were still busy. On Friday, same thing, swimming, splashing, eating. The beavers were consistently active Monday through Friday at the same time each day. Now the next day was Saturday, the first Saturday of the experiment. What will I see when I come tomorrow? So here's a question. Does the Bible mention anything, anywhere, about an animal resting on Sabbath?
Well, what the Bible says, actually what Jesus said, is that Sabbath was made for man. And when we think about that, He is saying this is the day that God has given you as a gift. But in fact, the 4th commandment does mention animals being involved in that, because it says, in it, on this Sabbath, you shall do no work, not you, your son, or your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger that was within your gates.
The cattle are to rest.
These were normally working animals, but not only the cattle, even the strangers that were to visit them, anyone who was on the property was not to work on the Sabbath. One other time, the Bible mentions loosing an ox to lead it to water on the Sabbath, which indicates it's resting from the work it normally would be doing for man on the Sabbath day. And so, yes, working animals were to rest on the Sabbath.
Okay, it's Saturday, and this is amazing. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. Completely still. I'm here the same time as yesterday when they were out and about, swimming and doing all kinds of stuff. But today, nothing. Quiet. I know they're alive because I can hear them. I can hear them inside the lodge here. Listen to this. I guess these guys need a day off too. But why did they pick Saturday? Do they even know it's Saturday? Or maybe it's just a coincidence. The only way to find out is to keep on observing through another week. Okay, it's Sunday, and the beavers are back out and busy. They've obviously come back out of the lodge. They look healthy. So I'll just keep watching and see what's on their schedule for this week. Another week of observation, and the beavers were out every day, busy as usual. Sunday through Friday at about the same time every day. And then came Saturday. And just like the first week, all was quiet again. This continued on week after week, month after month, summer and winter, with the same results.
My dad has been watching these beavers for about 16 years. He's been getting to be kind of an expert on beaver behavior, at least with this family of beavers.
They seem like normal animals, except we've never once seen them out on Saturdays.
Notice something interesting about beavers. You see how close their front arms and shoulders are to their head? It almost looks like their arms come out the side of their neck. Now this makes them really good at handling things close to their mouths, but not so good at running. Also, notice how fast they submerge when they slap their tails. I used to think beavers slap their tails to warn others of danger. But after studying them for a long time, I don't think that's the case. It looks to me like they're trying to get underwater quickly. I don't think they're warning others because sometimes they slap their tails when no others are around. Or if others are there, the others don't respond by running off when they hear the slap. Beavers can't see very good at all. In fact, I've been able to film them within just a few feet without them seeing me. They can smell and hear very well, but they have very poor eyesight. So to me, it looks like they slap their tails because they're not sure if danger is present, and they want to get under the water quickly just in case. Because when they don't slap their tails, submerging takes a bit longer.
Sometimes when we come up here on Saturdays, we're a little worried. What if we see the beavers out? After all this time, that would really ruin our study. But no, every Saturday we come, everything is quiet here at the beaver dam.
Getting to these beaver dams has been a challenge. Over the years, we've been very thankful for this old Chevy Tahoe. It's been pretty capable. It's gotten us in and out of some pretty rough places.
Yeah, you know, we've logged thousands of miles on this truck, and on some of the roughest terrain. Oh boy. Besides downed trees on the trail, flat tires were par for the course.
Yep, another flat. There we are, minding our own business. Flat. Out in the middle of nowhere. I got muscles. One of the biggest flats I think we've ever gotten.
Tire's eager to come off. It's already trying.
It's like a loose tooth. Ready?
Wow.
Trade ya. Let's try a different one. This one, I don't think I like this one. Is this the same size tire?
Mm-hmm.
There.
We finally had to break down and buy some really tough tires.
Alright, I will let John know you're here.
Okay, thank you. We'll get the old flat tire problem fixed right now. No more flats for us. Okay. All right. Peter, thank you.
If Saturday is God's Sabbath day, then why do Christians all over the world go to church on Sunday?
Well, boy, that's really a good question, because there's nothing to validate the keeping of Sunday in the Bible. It's merely tradition, purely tradition. There's only 8 verses on the first day of the week in the Bible, and none of them talk about transferring the worship of God, the day that God sanctified from the 7th day, to Sunday. And actually the tradition dates all the way back to a few centuries after Christ, when Constantine legalized Christianity, and he enacted the very first Sunday observance law. You can read about it in a lot of encyclopedias. Collier's encyclopedia says that on the venerable day of the sun,
let the magistrates and the people residing in cities rest, and let all the workshops be closed. Then in 364 AD, in the Council of Laodicea, they passed a law requiring that Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Saturday. The religious leaders, led by Bishop Eusebius, stated, "All things whatsoever that it was duty to do on the Sabbath, these we have transferred to the Lord's Day, which was a name they gave to Sunday."
In 70 AD, Roman armies conquered Jerusalem and burned the temple to the ground. At that time, it became very unpopular throughout the Roman Empire to be like the Jews in any way. And Christian churches had recently been established throughout the empire, especially in the city of Rome. And so because of this war against the Jews, it became very unpopular to be like the Jews in any way, and the Bible Sabbath looked Jewish because the Jews kept it as well. And so tremendous pressure was exerted upon the early Christian churches, especially in Rome, to move away from the Bible Sabbath. Well, at the same time, Sunday was a day that was recognized throughout the Roman Empire as the day of the sun. The Romans worshiped the sun on Sunday. And so as the Christians were feeling pressure to get away from anything that looked Jewish, they started thinking about this, and they said, hey, you know what? Jesus rose on Sunday anyway. And so it became a very convenient rationalization to move away from what looked like a Jewish Sabbath and to move towards Sunday. If you've heard the expression, when in Rome, do as the Romans, that really originated over this issue. And so the shift took place gradually, especially in Rome and in Egypt and Alexandria. And as time went on, the Roman Catholic Church really became a dominant advocate for Sunday observance as a replacement to the Bible Sabbath. Nevertheless, the Bible itself does not change. And the fourth commandment still says that the seventh day is the Sabbath, not of the Jews, but of the Lord.
Well, as you can see, winter has settled in here at the beaver pond, but the beavers are still active and still coming out Sunday through Friday. Not quite as much, but they're still coming out. I just finished observing several more weeks here, and still no Saturday activity. Now, it's not that they just stopped working on Saturday. I haven't seen them come out of their lodge on Saturday. It's as if they go in there Friday night at sundown and then hibernate for 24 hours. I've been observing this now for over 10 years, and here's what I think. I think something is causing the beavers to rest on Saturday, something inherent or something unseen. My hunch is this: the designer who created the beavers must have programmed a rest period in their brains. And that designer has to be the God of the Bible, because their resting occurs only and routinely on Saturdays, which is the biblical day of rest, the same day that God rested when He created this world. And so I'm impressed by this. Now, I don't know if all beavers rest like this, but the next logical step would be to organize another study involving other families of beavers and find out. If you have any questions, or you would like more information, or maybe you'd like some free study guides about the Sabbath day, you can contact me at my website at www.desiremedia.org. And thank you for watching the Seventh Day Beavers. Just finished filming Seventh Day Beaver film. It's just about wrapped up here. We got a long walk. We couldn't even bring the truck in here today because it's so deep. In fact, we got stuck up there once. We're good now.